Chelsea and Manchester United on talks over two separate deals. This is interesting if you just joined us. For Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling, the possibility of Sancho going to Chelsea and Sterling going to United has now been seriously considered. Yesterday on Drive, Andy Goldstein was joined by Jason Cundy, who said the deal doesn't make sense for either club.
Both players are in the same position. They've both got time in their contract, both huge earners. I don't see how... I can't quite work out where Jadon Sancho fits in at Chelsea. Honestly, I can't work that one out.
Don't you say that with most players you sign?
Well, no, there's so many players in the wide areas.
Where's Dewsbury Hall going to fit in with your team?
Dewsbury Hall is going to... Yeah, but those, I'm talking wide players now, right?
No, but I'm just talking about players you sign you don't need, you can't fit in.
Yeah, Dewsbury Hall's slightly different. I think we're going to have a lot of games this year. If we do qualify, we're playing Servette. Yeah, I've said to you before, I've never, ever come away from a Jadon Sancho performance, either an England shirt. I've seen him play well for Dortmund in the Champions League. I've never seen him come away going, wow, there's the player. Yeah. There he is.
Yeah, Ali and I are both a little bit like Jason there. So let's get the latest on this with talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Crookie, good morning.
Very good morning, Crookie.
Good morning, boys. Nice to see you.
Alex, Ali and I both sort of concurred that, when we heard all about this, we're shaking our head a little bit. We felt basically both sides, Manchester United and Chelsea, ideally would rather a reinforcement as a centre forward, not another wide player.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of strands to this story. One involves PSR, and the only reason the two clubs are even entertaining this, in my opinion, is because it would help balance the books. Because if Jadon Sancho is sold to Chelsea, then that can go down as profit for Manchester United on the balance sheet. If Raheem Sterling is sold to Manchester United, it wouldn't necessarily come out of their budget straight away because they would stagger the transfer fee over the course of his contract. So I think that's the big allure. I'm still not convinced it's going to happen. Raheem Sterling's got 3 years left on his contract at Chelsea. He's on huge money there, and I think they're going to have to give him some form of payoff for him to even contemplate making the switch to Old Trafford. And Jadon Sancho has also got 2 years left on his deal, and he's one of United's top earners as well. I think it also, in United's case in particular, illustrates the mess that the transfer market has been for them over the past few windows. They signed a player in Jadon Sancho who didn't really fit in because he wants to play on the left-hand side. They've already got Marcus Rashford who wants to play on the left-hand side. So it's going to be intriguing to see how this one pans out. But at the moment, I'm still dubious as to whether it actually happens.
Well, it's funny one, Crookie, because I don't think there's anywhere for the other two, the players to go other than leave the club. I mean, Maresca's made it clear that he wants Chalobah, Chilwell, and indeed Sterling out. And I know Eric Ten Hag's kind of welcomed them Jadon Sancho back, but he's never put an arm around them and saying, don't go away, you're staying here. That's not the case. And Jadon Sancho is somebody that will want to play. I listened to the boys of Jason, and he's right. I've never really seen Sancho fire on all cylinders. I saw him at a couple of great performances in Europe, but he's got to go on with his career, and it can't be at Manchester. I don't think it can be at Manchester United, Crookie.
No, I agree. And, I speak to people like Kevin Hatchard in particular, who's obviously watched Sancho a lot in the Bundesliga, and he tells me there's a really good player there. Like you, I'm yet to see it. And this is not someone who's played a handful of games for Manchester United. I think he's made more than 60 appearances in the first team. And genuinely, I can only remember a couple of standout matches that he's had. And you look at the money they paid, the wages that he earns, that simply isn't good enough. I did write quite an in-depth piece on Sancho in my notebook on the talkSPORT website yesterday. I think his future is going to go down to the wire at the moment. I think Juventus, not Chelsea, probably the most advanced in trying to do a deal. Don't write off a return to Germany. Bayern Munich have shown a bit of interest. Borussia Dortmund, we know, love him. But I think it's going to be a loan deal, if anything, for Jadon Sancho. And I know United are reluctant to do that unless they get some kind of obligation to buy, because otherwise you're just kicking the can down the road and you're going to be in the same situation this time next year.
Crookie, they've started well, Liverpool. Been quiet in the transfer, but now looks like they're going to add a couple.
Well, they've got Mamardashvili, the goalkeeper, signed from Valencia. I know Ali was impressed with him for Georgia, the European Championships in the summer, but that's a deal for next year. So it'll be interesting to see who starts next season as number one, be it him or Alisson. And then they are exploring a deal, I understand, for Federico Chiesa. Now, I think this is one of those opportunistic ones that wasn't necessarily on their radar earlier in the window, but because he's available for a relatively modest fee, I was told it could be as little as £10 million. I think Liverpool feel that it's worth a gamble for a player you have to remember was one of the standouts for Italy when they won the Euros back in 2021.
Crookie, I was going to say, I think you were at the game last night. I just want to touch on it. I'm obviously want to talk to you about Mikel Mourinho as well, but maybe slightly more importantly, Matty Riley looked as though he got a real sore one. Brighton's new sign in Middle of the Park, first 5-10 minutes or so, seemingly not a great tackle, stating the obvious, disastrous start for him.
I thought it was a disgraceful tackle. To be at least 8 minutes into a League Cup game, you've got a League One side coming to a Premier League opponent. I know they're keen to make their mark, but how it's not a red card is absolutely baffling. And then the same player makes an equally poor tackle a few minutes later, gets a yellow card. So he should have at least been booked for the challenge on O'Reilly, and he would have been off. But I think what infuriated Brighton was that Jay Williams, the Crawley captain, and some of his teammates seemed to find it quite amusing that the challenge that left O'Reilly needing to be carried off the pitch by 2 physios. And it didn't look good at all. You can usually tell by a player's reaction he was a combination of distressed and absolutely furious with the challenge. So not the way that he wanted his Brighton career to start after a £25 million move. And I fear it might be a few months before we see him again. So
shocking.
Really poor tackle.
It's not on. Listen, sorry, I was just going to throw in a couple of. I mentioned Mikel Mourinho there, and obviously Ugarte as well to United. What can you tell us?
Ugarte should undergo his medical today. Fee was agreed yesterday, so that should happen. Scott McTominay due to touchdown in Naples today as well to undergo his medical at Napoli. And Marino completed his move to Arsenal yesterday, tea time. Initial fee of around £27 million with add-ons. And I think I read a piece in the Telegraph that this is now Arsenal's tallest team since the Invincibles. He's 6'2". He's physically imposing. He's a winner, of course, having just lifted the European Championship with Spain. So I think for £27 million, this looks like a really smart piece of business and just strengthens my belief that Arsenal can really go closer. I think they'll win the league this year. I picked them out at the start of the season. I'm going to stick with that.
Crookie, what about Ivan Toney? Could he still end up at Arsenal? And what about Ramsdale? That's the last two for me.
Yeah, well, I can see a scenario where we get to the close of play on deadline day. Jim White and I on YouTube at 10 o'clock are going to be talking about Ivan Toney because I think this one's going to go to the wire as well. We know that he's verbally agreed terms on a huge money move to Saudi Arabia, but I think he's still waiting to see what interest there is from the Premier League. At the moment, I'm told by a really good source that the Saudi offer is the only one on the table, but Chelsea are monitoring the situation. I think Osman is their preferred target, but if they don't get him, they may well try their luck. But Brentford holding firm. They want £50 million. So I think we're going to be talking about Ivan Toney a lot in the next few days. In terms of Aaron Ramsdale, he's sort of running out of options because Wolves have moved on now to Sam Johnson. That one should happen in a deal from Crystal Palace worth £10 million. Bournemouth are signing Kepa Arrizabalaga on loan, 2 times Champions League winner, pitching up at the Vitality. There's a possibility that he could end up at Southampton, but I know at the moment they're reluctant to meet Arsenal's terms, which is a loan with a £30 million obligation. So I think Arsenal are going to need to lower that. I think it might end up being a straight loan deal. So let's see.
Alex, nice one. Thank you.
Good luck, Cricket.
Alex Crook there.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Alan Brazil. Thursday and Friday morning, 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.